in that country. Next slide is our influence. So I can't overestimate how much influence, even working in this company for a few weeks a year, has given me with the Tanzanian government. I've got government officials who are now calling, asking me, hey, can you help us with tourism in this sector? Can you help us with running races on the mountain? I have people emailing out of the blue saying, I want to ride my bike on Mount Kilimanjaro, and I understand you're the expert on that. Now, I'm not an expert on riding my bike on Kilimanjaro, but I'm the closest we currently have in Tanzania to an expert. And so people are emailing me. I've got, there are some government entities who have already spoken to us about helping them with their Olympic development programs. They know we have access to professional racers outside the country, and we can bring those racers in. I've got pro racers who are, some of them Christians, some of them just interested in supporting community development work, who are asking, how can we be of service? How can we help you? And I've got some major companies. There's a huge bicycle manufacturer that is now on board for the next 3 years to assist us in our community development programs. So the sphere of influence is growing quickly and expanding. Next slide will be, how do we improve through finances? So on this one, I just kind of want to mention that number 3 there. We're able to scale and maximize our impact without additional long-term funding from the U.S. One of our biggest problems is that we believe we've done really great work over the last 12 years in Gaeta. We've had some good successes, but the problem is when we want to scale those successes, it would necessarily require more funding. And so we're in this cycle where we would be just consistently and continually raising money in order to scale anything good we've done, because nothing we're doing is producing funds itself. And so one of our best ideas here, I think, is that financially we're able to scale and maximize our successes and our impact by funding it through the impact itself. So that's one of our ideas here. We're at the point now, Christy just got a teaching job in Arusha town where we've moved. And so that's going to benefit us in a great way. One of our biggest stresses to this point was we didn't know how we were going to get our kids into a school, because we couldn't afford the schools in Arusha. Christy got a teaching job at one of those schools. That now is going to get our kids into school. So that's been a major blessing to us and an answer to prayer, that we now can have our kids in school and we don't have to come up with that however many thousands of dollars per year. So that's a major blessing. We're in a position now where if our funding remains the way it is for our 5-year transition, we lack approximately $45,000 total over the next 5 years to being able to make ourselves lifelong missionaries, funding ourselves through business's mission. So that's how close we are at this point. We're trying to take that money in personal loans. So if any of you want to loan us $45,000, let me know, and we'll talk about interest rates. Next slide. Legal. This is going to be happening, I think, worldwide. I can't predict that for all countries, but Tanzania doesn't want kind of these rogue missionaries coming in from random churches in the U.S. to do mission work. That's not what they want. And so they've made it really difficult for you to come into the country and just be a missionary. They want you to do something that they perceive adds value to their country. Whether that's through producing income, whether it's through increasing the number of jobs in the country, or just providing some expertise that other people don't have. They want you to do something that they would say is a tangible benefit to their country. I think this is a change that's going to come to many countries around the world. For us in Tanzania, the last 3 to 5 years have been quite difficult getting permits to be missionaries. I've not been formally called on my permit, my resident and work permit in Tanzania. I've not been a missionary for 5 years now, I think, because it's become so difficult to get missionary status. So I've been an employee, a non-paid employee of an agricultural agricultural development group. And so at this point, starting our own business will be one of the best ways to get an investor permit and to become an investor and be able to stay longer term in Tanzania. So I'll give you just a quick, this is somewhat anecdotal, but of the 9 Church of Christ missionary families who have lived long term in Tanzania and were in Tanzania last summer, 1 year ago, there will be 3 of those families that remain in Tanzania come December of this year. And that's largely due to Tanzania changing policies and making it difficult for people to remain in country as missionaries. Many of those missionaries have moved to other countries where it's easier to be a missionary currently. I don't expect that to last long term. One of those families has gotten a job teaching, and they're going to remain as teachers to do their mission work. And then one of the other families, the other family besides us, of the three, they are buying shares in an existing company in order to become investors, though they're not starting their own company. So that's kind of where we are on legal and government considerations. Let's go to the next slide. I may rush through some of this. We stop at 10:15. I'm going to try to rush through some of this so I can leave just maybe even 5 minutes for questions. One of our friends in Rwanda, his name's Matt Miller. He wrote this, and it's really been kind of echoed my feeling on mission work for a while. The idea is our mission work shouldn't be missionary visioned and driven anymore. We should be coming alongside African leaders as partners and peers. And so that's really where I want to be. Traditional missionaries has put me in kind of an authoritative role, whether I've wanted that or not. That's not good for sustainability and reproducibility. It's not good for providing dignity or leaving dignity and agency with our Tanzanian churches. You have Tanzanian Christians who have leadership structures in place. They are making decisions, and when a missionary comes in and starts making decisions for them, especially when oftentimes it's done, they exercise control and power over the decision-making mechanisms in those churches through funding. They withhold finances to get the churches to do what they desire them to do. And I think that's kind of the system that's expected. What's interesting is then the very missionaries who have used that strategy seem surprised when they've left and gone back to the U.S. They seem surprised that the leadership of those churches are using finances and money to control the decision-making mechanisms in the churches, when that's exactly the model they were given. So we're shifting to a model in which missionaries and outside leaders are catalysts. Go to that next slide. The idea is we should be assisting and serving the Tanzanian Christians in growing the kingdom in their work in Tanzania. We shouldn't be the ones owning or responsible for all of the work. So that's a major shift. That's a shift that we've experienced over the last 12 years, but it does seem to fit well with our business's mission model. It's going to require humility, and it's going to require a willingness to release control of what those churches decide. But I think that's exactly what Jesus did in Philippians 2. You see, the next slide is Philippians 2. You see that Jesus is releasing control, and he's exercising humility in order to serve others. True incarnational ministry is going to require common mutuality. Next slide, I believe, is a chart. So we want to be catalytic leaders instead of traditional missionaries. And I hope I've not been unfair to traditional missions on the left-hand side there. We're just going to leave this slide up, and I am happy to take some questions for the next 5 minutes if I've got it. If there are no questions, I can talk about something else. Yes? That's Church of Christ missionary families who have been there long term. I'm saying long term is more than 3 to 4 years.
But if the role is changing to be a catalyst, then decreasing the numbers feels appropriate.
Yeah.
So is 3 the right amount, or do you feel like we're shrinking too fast?
So for our movement in Mwanza Geta area, we feel like those churches are pretty mature, and it's time for us to move somewhere else. They've been functioning largely on their own, with us serving only as advisors and counselors for several years now, so we think it's a good move. However, I think it's fair for me to say most of those 9 families would have preferred to have done what we've done and shifted to another phase of ministry in another location, done something else for the kingdom in Tanzania. We're losing, I've just become really good at my job. And so to come back to the U.S. now, it seems like would be a poor decision on my part. If you want to send someone else to do something based in Arusha or elsewhere, it's going to take them 2 years minimum to learn the language, to learn the culture. Who knows when they start becoming effective. So I would have rather seen some of those missionaries who wanted to stay in country be able to stay in country, but change their roles. That's what I would have preferred. Yeah. But no, I think you're right. I mean, our job is to work ourselves out of a job. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Last time you guys were here, you guys were sharing how your agriculture mission was really spreading through, I guess, other nonprofits and I guess universities, and it really was very spread. Can you give us an update on how that's spread?
Yeah. So I'm still being called on to teach seminars for government entities, for other development groups. Other churches are asking me to come in, other denominations. Can you teach us how to do agriculture and evangelism together? So now over the last 6 months, as we've moved to Arusha, I've kind of put a hold on that. We've been busy trying to get things set up, start a company, incorporate the company. That's what we've been doing. But the idea will be I can work approximately 8 months a year on our new business strategy, which involves some of that agriculture work, but still me leaving and going to the coast to teach Muslim evangelists, Muslim background believer evangelists, to teach them agriculture. That's still going to be part of our strategy, but that will exist kind of outside of the for-profit structure. So I'm still getting those invitations. Right now, I'm really pleased that in the Mwanza Geta area specifically, the people that we've invested so much time in, they're now taking on that role. And so I'm sure I've showed you pictures of Johanna in the past. Johanna recently got a small grant from the U.S. to actually fund him traveling to teach integration of agriculture and theology with sustainable agriculture practices. And so right now, that grant was specifically for him to do that among the 120 churches of Christ in their 2 regions. So yeah, I mean, in essence, I've been able to replicate myself there, and now we're moving elsewhere. We will have a slightly different angle to the new ministry in that rather than me having, it's become a bit of a drain for me to travel for these week-long seminars. Prior to moving to Arusha, I was traveling 1 week a month, I was gone. I was just gone somewhere traveling. And that was the limit that Christy and I had set, 1 week a month. I don't think that's a good limit for us any longer. I'd like to be home more. With Christy starting a full-time teaching job, I need to be home more. And so right now what we're doing is we will have a slightly more attractional model in that we'll have a demonstration farm and a for-profit farm where we bring people in to do the trainings, which makes it a little easier on me. We're bringing leadership in from other places and then sending them back out. Now, missiologically, I don't know that I really love that shift, but practically speaking for us and our family, it's a good shift. It also gives us control over what we're teaching. So our idea, you didn't ask this question, but I'll tell you briefly. We're starting about 1.5 acre demonstration farm that will be a permaculture farm, if you ever looked into that. Everything on that farm will be extremely low tech. And what we'll do is the for-profit business will grow out of that 1.5 acre low tech farm. Thematically and geographically will move into higher tech and higher tech solutions for profits. And so no matter what farmer comes to us now, we'll be able to demonstrate to them something that's on their ability level. One of our goals has always been to teach farmers only how to use resources that are available to them. But in doing that, I've only been able to help the poorest of the rural farmers, because I've got farmers who come to me and they say, I've got 30 acres and I'm farming with a tractor and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. What can I do? And I say, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to model for you. I don't have anything to show you, but I can give you some notes. I can introduce you to someone, but now we'll actually be doing that on our own for-profit farm. Yes, sir.
The athletic events you've been doing, could you just describe one?
Yeah, our longest running athletic event is Kilimanjaro to Natron mountain bike race. It's a 4-day stage race. So the cyclists cycle over 4 days from Mount Kilimanjaro up to 12,600 feet on Kilimanjaro, back down, and then they move to Lake Natron over the next 3 days. So it's approximately 160 miles total. Some of the most difficult mountain biking maybe in the world, on stage 4 particularly. And it's a full service, all-inclusive event. So people just show up, we pick them up at the airport, we take them, all the tents are set up, all the food's available all week long, and that's what we do on that one. Another event is our Kilimanjaro Trails Festival, and that's just a weekend of camping, food vendors, mountain bike races and trail running for ages of like 3 years old up to elite expert pros. And so we have, I think this year we'll have 13 different races that weekend. It'll be over Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, so 3 nights. And this last year we had over 400 people attend that event. So we're well on our way to success there, though we've got to increase revenues. So we're getting people, but we're not making money yet. Yes, ma'am.
During these races, do you have classes you offer? How do you bring Bible study or religion into those races?
Yeah, so at those races themselves, we don't offer Bible studies. Those races are meant mostly for gaining influence, adding to our sphere of influence, gaining credibility and access to people, and then we develop long-term relationships in which we can insert Bible studies. But yeah, those races are going to function largely like you'd see other races functioning. Yep.
Those seem like very expensive races. Are you mainly trying to attract Europeans and Americans?
So for revenue generation, yes, but like those 2 events, the Kilimanjaro to Natron 4-day stage race is almost all internationals. And so we have a lot of people paying a lot of money to come to that race. The other race we designed specifically to be accessible to local runners and riders. So it's approximately half Tanzanians and half expats. We had no one who traveled internationally this year to attend that. Of those 400 people, no one came internationally. Everyone lived in Tanzania, whether they were expats or Tanzanians. So that one is accessible. Our kids' races are free. You know, our 5K is like $10, and so those are accessible to everyone else. Yeah.
When you're teaching them the farming, what are you teaching? I mean, what are they growing? What vegetables?
I focus on soil restoration and ensuring that our agriculture practices are sustainable long term, that we're being good stewards of the earth, as we learn in the creation story. So I'm focusing on that. I'm not focusing on any particular crops. Most of the farmers I talk with, though, they want to grow maize. So they're wanting to grow corn, but that's just kind of their choice. There are farmers who come and say, hey, I'm growing fruit trees. What can you help me with? So we're mostly focusing on soil because that's applicable to everyone. I'm going to take one more question, and then I think we'll call this over. But I'm around, happy to talk. Yes, ma'am.
So what's the protocol for contributing?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
The protocol for contributing?
The protocol for contributing, I think, who can someone speak with at 3 Chopt about that? Ben? Ben or Ruben, perhaps? If you contributed and earmarked the money towards our mission and contributed to 3 Chopt, then that's probably the easiest way. Yeah, Betsy.
They can earmark it and turn it into Family Life Center. If they put it in the collection plate, it doesn't necessarily go.
Okay.
They can turn it into Family Life
So you can earmark it, write on the envelope what it's for, and okay, and then give it to the Family Life Center. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time. We're around. Feel free to come and grab us and ask for more information. And thanks for letting me share with you.